All right. So I made a boo-boo, but anyway, uh, got us another rifle to set up. It's actually pretty much the same rifle. Um, Mine had to go back, but this is my son's. This is another Christensen Arms FFT carbon in 7 PRC. Mine, this is the gray one. I bought two, obviously. Um, Mine had to go back because it had several issues with it. It was shooting okay. It was within that 1 MOA guarantee or whatever with this Precision Hunter crap. Which I'll get to this bullet later. But anyway, as far as the rifle goes, mine was having massive feed issues, headspace issues. Basically, when you lock the bolt in, let's say I go to load a round, right? That wasn't happening. You couldn't load that top of 3 rounds out of the magazine just by pushing forward. Wouldn't happen. To the point where I thought for sure I was going to break that bolt handle. And then once you did get it in, right, and let's say I don't want to shoot, and you do that, it would unlock, and then when you went to pull it, it would be locked in. It would be locked in those lugs. You sit there and have to shimmy and shimmy. And then in order to get the bolt out, you'd have to unlock it. So on Remington, typical Remington actions, you push on there, and then well, not on Remington, I'm sorry. They'll have a button here most of the time, the Remingtons, and then you pull the trigger in order to release the bolt. On this one, you push here, you pull the trigger, and then you pull it out. And it was an absolute nightmare. So it was test fired, and you can kind of see, let's see if I can get him lined up. You can just make it out. It says Hornady. So the stamp on there, it actually says, whatever. Trust me, it says Hornady. It was probably tested with that stuff. But that's this one. Mine didn't have that. I'm not saying it wasn't tested, but for a $2,500 rifle, it shouldn't have left the factory the way it was. So I don't know if they were just happened to be smoking something that day or whatever. But on further kind of inspection on the whole Christensen Arms deal, which I'm super happy with, like everything else, like it looks badass. I mean, let's be honest, that thing looks sick. It's super, super lightweight. This one's like just right at 5 pounds. Oh, you know what? Where's my doodad at? Here it is. We'll get rid of this. With the bolt. Now it's probably not super accurate on this pad, but I've got the table. I've got that maple table under here, and I don't want to screw it up. So, okay, that's actually not going to work. I guess we will quasi show the table off a little bit. So, get off there. We're at 5 pounds, 13 ounces with the bolt in, nothing on it. So that's something. And we'll measure it once it's all done. See, that's what I didn't want to do. I just dinged that a little bit, I think. So, covering back up. Okay, so 5 pounds, 12.8 ounces, according to that, call it 5 pounds, 13 ounces. So, we've got the tally bases, which I didn't even really look at, to be honest. When I mounted, I went ahead, I was like, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself and I'll mount these bubbles in there. So I did, and guess what? You can't get a screw in there once the bubble's in there. So I was like, what the heck? It just seems silly. So called tally, and the guy was like, pretty much, well, dumbass. do it. He didn't know right out of the gate, but he went and asked somebody. Like, well, yeah, you got to do it. You got to put the bubble in after it's mounted. I personally think that's stupid. Well, whatever. They could have made it at basically a 1/4 inch longer, and then you wouldn't have to do that. But that's what it is. So anyway, I got to clean this. Take some 600 grit sandpaper and clean that old super glue off. I mean, I like tally stuff though. I mean, I haven't had any issues with anything. I've heard of some of the tally lightweight rings breaking or getting a crack in them, but I personally haven't experienced that. So anyway, we'll get this dude mounted up. Yeah, actually this is right. So, got my Wheeler chubby wrench. Oh, and then for rings, I like the Seekins / Vortex PMR rings. Really don't like anything else about Vortex personally, but when they partnered with Seekins on these rings, that was a pretty wise move. I think they're exceptional for the money, especially when you can get them on eBay, which is where these came from, for like $100. And a lot of people won't spend $100 on their rings, but I do. The last thing I want is an issue with hardware, because a hardware failure in the field is, basically the end of the world when you're 10 miles from your truck. And a lot of people will buy a nice rifle and then put a crap scope on it. That doesn't make any sense to me. In this case, we're going with the Trijicon 3 to 18 by 50 10 mile. Seems pretty good. I've got the Credo. I like the Credo. I like my Credo a little bit better. It's a little bit lighter. Yeah, I just kind of like it better. But this is, I got a good deal on this from Euro Optic, and I highly suggest, if you're in the market for higher end, not top tier stuff. I mean, they've got it, but a lot of times they'll run closeouts, which is what this was, and this ended up being less than that Credo I bought used. So this new was less than the Credo used. I think the Credo was $740 or something. This, I think, was right at $7. And it's just a closeout. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the second focal plane one, illuminated. 0.1 MRAD or mil. So the reason I'm taking all this apart is a lot of people don't realize that Loctite, here we go. So Loctite will not bond to anything if it's got oil on it. So what we do is we take a t-shirt, in this case. I can't get it on the table, but I want to do it here. So we're going to take all these screws. They look, they're all the same. And we're going to rinse them off with some rubbing alcohol and get any residual oil off of them best we can. And a lot of people don't do this, and then their rings come loose, and they're like, "Man, this is bull snot." Well, yeah, it kind of is, but if you kind of did your due diligence, and here, I'll just do it on one spot for the most part, and then I'll show you how much comes off of these brand new rings. Like, you would never guess it. And it will stop Loctite from setting up. I typically don't do a lot of Loctite, but Well, this isn't even this is Permatex, but it's the blue. It's the blue non-permanent. All right, so this. So you can see how dirty those brand new screws were, right? Oil, dirt, whatever, cutting oil. And I got my Q-tip, and then these have a threaded portion in them. These are dirty, and it's just one of those things. Like, you do it right out of the gate, and you don't have to worry about it, man. And then same thing for the base. The base up. These are different. These are 6 by 48, I think. So go ahead and soak him again. And then, it's like cheap insurance. Like, yeah, you don't have to do it, but man, probably one of the reasons I don't have issues with my scopes coming loose is because I go through measures like this. I already did the action. Oh man, see, these are filthy. These are filthy. So, and the Loctite might set up, but what if it doesn't? You never know. You never know if it doesn't. So that came off of 4 screws off that tally base right there. So that's filthy. And I'm sure they leave the oil on them for transport. Some of these things might sit on a shelf for years and years on end, right? So what we'll do is we'll move over to the doodad, and that protects them, keeps them from rusting. Okay. So for those that don't know or have never looked into it, so this is a 20-minute base. You can see how this is the back side is higher or thicker than the front side, and what this does is this induces a cant into your scope. They call it a 20 MOA cant, or minute of angle, which comes out to like 6 point something or other mils, and it helps increase the amount of travel. It doesn't technically increase the travel of the scope. So travel would be from one side, like all the way down, all the way up, and that'll get you, far distances, like in your scope. And I need my little light. These little lights, I got them at Costco. I'm gonna do that. There it goes. They're just handy. And I think it's these infinity deals. It's a Bluetooth speaker, LED lights, magnetic, blah blah blah, and you can get them for like $10 a pair at Costco. Awesome little dudes. But anyway, let me see how that's panning out. Yeah, it looks all right. So let's say you've got 20 mils of elevation in your scope, and your zero ends up hovering in the at 8 mils. Well, now you only got 12 mils of usable elevation in your scope before you got to move on to your reticle and yada yada. So you got a limiting situation there, and a 20 MOA can't. Get in there, you. Get in there. There we go. A 20 MOA can't is going to add 6 mils to that. So it's going to bring you back up to where you were. I'm just getting it kind of tight. And typically I'd bed these, but these actions are really good. They're really good. Not as good as a Tika. Which really surprised me when I'm like extracting brass out of mine and it is just shredded. And I'm a 100% brass goblin. 100%. Like I pick up every piece of brass. I have people here. I do pistol instruction. Well, I do firearms instruction, but had people here today, and they luckily they were shooting a 40 Smith and Wesson, which I don't have and don't actually care for. I've had a couple, but I'm not crazy about the 40 Smith. And I'm just watching brass just fly. I'm like, oh god. So those are just snug, which is all we really need, and not an excessive amount of Loctite, right? Come on, you. God, these little wrenches just suck. Okay, so now I'm gonna put these clamps back together. So these only go back together. The other thing I like about the Seekins is there's no guessing, so you can tell that it is keyed a very specific way. So what we'll do is put a dab of Loctite. These you typically don't have to worry about because they've got quite a bit of juice holding them on there. But whatever, better safe than sorry, right? And where's the other one? So there's no guesswork to these rings, and when you hold them, you're like, wow, these things are beefy. So you can use, I mean, the Loctite changes the torque value a little bit, which on the rings and the base you don't have to be so cognizant of, but on the scope you do. And I'm weird. I like having the screws away from the chamber, away from the ejection port. And I don't know why that is, but that's the way I do stuff. So let me see here. Where is T25? Come on, Jason. T25, T25, T25. There we go. So because these, well, you know what? Let's do this first. So I do it in small increments. So in this case, we're right at 15. Oh, you know what? One thing I did not check. I think these screws are keyed, so I want to make sure before I go putting it together and screwing the pooch. I want to make sure that I've got the right ones. So one way you can tell typically is you put, once you've, already kind of screwed the pooch like me, is you put them in, and then you need the longer screws in the back. But it doesn't, maybe not. Maybe these are good. You know what? Let's just take them out. So that's those. No, they're the same, which is good. So when they're different, it's like, what's the point in that? Almost like, something was an afterthought. Like, oh, wait a second, we've got to do this. So I shouldn't need any more light. That stuff already started to set up, though. So I'll put a little dab on that one. So here's this one. Here's this one. Okay, so back to it. So we're at 15 inch-pounds. So, and I never do them linearly. Well, I guess linearly. I never just go doot. I always skip around. I don't know if it actually makes a difference, but it's just what I do. Probably some kind of OCD crap. So, and then we're at 15 inch-pounds, so we'll bump him to 20. We'll do them differently this time. And then 25 is our final torque value. Now, if you don't know, so you can see like the difference, the size difference in these bits. See how long that one is and how short that one is. So the length of this bit changes the torque value, right? So you got to keep that in mind as well when you're switching around bits. All right, we're good. What's that one? So that's 25. So we're done with there. Everything's Loctite. We're good to go. Now here, it's going to change just a little bit. What am I do with it? Oh, there we go. So, we do have to keep in mind the ejection issue that I was having. So, it was hitting the brass, was hitting, let's see if we can get this to come up. What the hell is that? Anyway, you can see that ding. So, yeah, and there you go. It was just tearing up. So that's the brass on mine coming out. And the only reason I figured that out was there was another video. Another guy had a 300 PRC in the Christensen arms. That was doing the exact same thing. Like, oh my gosh, like, why is it the same thing or whatever? And I think a lot of it, so you actually don't have to pull the trigger, you just push that, almost like a Tika or a Seiko. So this has dual ejectors, and which is cool, it's all fine and dandy, but it was definitely, there we go. It was whacking the crap out of it. So, and all I have is loaded ammo in here. So I don't want to do that. Not that it really matters, but so I'm gonna bring it pretty far back. So these are medium rings. Mine that I had on mine were lows. Or that are on mine, they're lows, and I will say that I'm switching to mediums. I already ordered some Night Force medium rings, and that should, in theory, help quite a lot. So, you know, obviously this will have to be adjusted to a certain degree, but I think it should be pretty good. We're right back, right in line with that palm swell. So, I'm going to go ahead and run these guys in. And now, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I'm not sure. I did already test this one, and this one was having none of the issues that the other one was. None. It was ejecting. Well, initially I thought my issue was the ejecting, but that was more the configuration of everything. So that wasn't an issue, but this one doesn't have the issue like the headspace issue, or you know, where the lugs are locking out or whatever's causing that. It push feeds that top of 3 rounds just fine. There's no issue there. So it's definitely something with that rifle. And again, like, you know, I will say that Christensen Arms, they like, yeah, we'll send it in. You know, we'll get you an RMA and yada yada. But the thing is when you spend this much on a rifle, that's like you going and buying a brand new car, having it delivered, and then there not being any oil in the drivetrain or something, like no oil in the engine and transmission, or you know, something like that's how I equate it anyway. That might be ridiculous, I don't know. And it'd be one thing if it was a one-off, or it'd be something if it was a one-off problem, but after having the issue and being like, all right, well, what's going on here? You know, of course, I went down the Google rabbit hole and the YouTube rabbit hole, and there's tons of the same issues as mine, as well as what that other rifle. I mean, they're both mine, but as that other rifle. And that's a quality control issue at that point. Like something wasn't assembled right, torqued right, whatever, machined right, doesn't matter. It should never make it to the consumer like that. So, I always consider, now I could be wrong, and if there's machinists out there or somebody that deals in these torque values all the time, I'd love to hear somebody that actually does this for a living. My understanding is that the longer the bit, the more it increases the torque value. The shorter the bit, the less torque value there is. So when I do these, like for the last year, well, I don't know, 15 years or something. This thing's pretty old. When I use these short bits, I increase it by just a smidgen. So when we go from the clamp, from the clamp to the base, I've been doing 35 inch-pounds. I want to say these might actually call for oh no, so right here, look at that. So 45 to 50 inch-pounds, and then 18 inch-pounds on the tube, which is pretty typical unless you have a night force. And in that case, they don't seem to care how tight it is. That's probably not true. But almost all scope manufacturers say 15 to 18. And I think night force you can go up to like 25 or something like that. So we need 45. So we're going to start with 15 and go up in 15 increments. So let's make sure we're forward on this. So you always put a little bit of tension on your ring forward, because that's where your recoil, see that, like it's got a little bit of wiggle. The recoil is pushing against that ring with the base. So that way you don't have any issues there. All right, so that was 15. Let's go up to 30. And these are all T25, which, you know, that's a pretty healthy screw. And then we're going to go up to 45 from there. Actually, you know, we'll just go a smidgen above to make sure that we're good. We'll go like, you know, just like 48 or so. Man, that's tight. And when you're doing these torques, you really got to do it straight. You want to be perpendicular to that. There you go. And then you want to make sure that you're running back down, because if you put on a scope at 50 inch-pounds, you're going to jack it up. Maybe not a night force, but so we'll go like 12. And then I need to figure out if this is straight. So weight 1. All right, we're good. So we're getting torqued in, and I'll try to get that stupid bubble level in. So, and it's pretty good. It shoulders nicely and everything. I mean, they're nice rifles. So in this one, we go in a cross pattern, like putting lugs on a car, or on a wheel rather. And then I never go in the same pattern when I go to do my increase. So I'll start differently. Or as long as my deadened brain can remember. Alright, so there's that. There we go. So what we'll do is see if we can just get him to sit just like that. actually went in pretty easily. I don't really particularly care for that. I'd rather have a ring mounted. Oops, I definitely don't want to drop that. I'd rather have a ring mounted deal. So I had to break them out, and one of them broke. Actually, that's dead on. But it's like, oh gosh, the shot I want. Okay. So then all I'm going to do, oh, that's stupid, is I'm going to put just a stinking dab. When you're working with CA glue, or super glue, typically when it touches something, that's it. It's toast. I'm going to poke a little hole in this. So, and if you shoot a lot, since I was a kid in the Army, I mean, I run a chainsaw and stuff a lot and all that, but I just always keep earplugs on me. And that way I've always got them, but I always wear a hat too, and a lot of people don't wear hats anymore. So when you're working with super glue, it's always smart to have a tube that actually has something in it. Alright, let me get another one. Get the one that came with it. Alright, so here we go. Give us a little drop. There we go. Alright, so we're just going to do there. And you can use what's called accelerator. Alright, there's that. So that should be sufficient to hold that in place. I had that super glue the other day when I had to super glue my eyelid. I lost my eye. But anyway, so there we go. We're set up. We're ready to go. Everything's good. We're clear. Our throw knobby thing is pretty good. And what I'll do is when I get my rifle back, I will get it put back together, and I mean, I'm going to shoot this one maybe today. I'm not sure. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But I'll get mine put back together with my Credo, and then I'll get the scope mounting thing. The other thing, I like the finish on mine way better. Like mine's well, they're both mine. I just like that Credo better, honestly. The finish I like much better. This finish on the 10 mile is almost like that shiny, cheap Vortex to me. I'm not crazy about it. But, what was I going to say? So, put the camera on them and see how they compare. According to Trigicon, it's pretty much the same scope. You can get these in front focal plane. This is a 3-18 by 50, so it's a 6 power magnification. This is a 2.5 to 15, so well, that's basically a 6 power magnification too. Huh? Maybe it's just that they stop at 15 on the Credos, and then if you want to go above 15, you just move on to 10 mile. It doesn't matter, whatever. So I mean, that's not bad, right? And then you go to the Credo, and you go, this clicks a little bit better on that 10 mile. I don't know, but that hardly matters. Some people really gravitate toward that. But anyway, both of them are capped. I do like the knurling on the Credo better. Both of them have a capped windage. and so you got I like the knurling on the Credo better. But they're a feature-rich scope, and they're proving to be pretty good. Now, are they as good as a Night Force? No, of course not. I mean, are they going to be close? Maybe. But you can get two, like what I paid for the Credo, you can get two of them. Yeah, you can get damn near two of them for one 3 to 15 F1 Night Force. Yeah, for sure. Actually, yeah, you can definitely get two of them. Because I think those are like $2,000. But anyway, for the second focal plane, I think they run like 14, 15, 1600, 1500, something like that. So you can get two of those Credos for one of those. But anyway, doesn't matter. They're different. Tighten it up real good. You got a spot where you can move this little knob around on both of them. Yeah, I don't know. So, but we'll do a comparison on it. Hopefully, I get mine back and it's correct and it's not jacked up. I'm still a little TO'd with all that, but I got to call Tally now and get them to send me a replacement bubble because I was kind of a dummy and their design's not the greatest. But anyway, that's it. That's what we got. Hopefully this one works out. It definitely doesn't have the initial issues that the other one does or had. Hopefully it doesn't come back and then be like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. But I haven't gotten an email from them, so thinking they're probably like, wow, this should have never left. But that's that. Thanks for watching. Got any questions, hit it in the comments, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you very much.